All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about cardiac arrest. So, cardiac arrest. We already know I can't spell, so y'all get it. I'll say the words. So, probably the first big statement is that return of spontaneous circulation, or ROSC, is predominantly determined by your coronary perfusion pressure, or your CPP. In this case, CPP is standing for coronary perfusion pressure, not cerebral perfusion pressure or some other CPP, but CPP for coronary perfusion pressure. So the CPP is equal to your end aortic diastolic pressure minus your right atrial pressure. So if you know that your coronary perfusion pressure determines whether or not you get ROSC, then you know you need to raise your aortic end diastolic pressure and you need to lower your right atrial pressure. So if you want to decrease your coronary perfusion pressure, then that would be something that decreases your end aortic diastolic pressure, or it's something that increases your right atrial pressure. Remember, coronary perfusion pressure, this is just how much pressure, blood, is going down your coronaries, which is more likely to make your heart start beating again, especially after you're dead. So when you bag somebody, or you intubate somebody, or you put someone on positive pressure ventilation, what happens to your right atrial pressure? Well, it actually goes up. And this would lower your coronary perfusion pressure. And there are several studies, which this is where I think things get pretty cool, that if you intubate someone as a first move after a cardiac arrest, particularly if it's VFib or VTAC, they do worse. And why do you think that is? Well, it's probably because you're increasing right atrial pressure, because you've put a tube down, which is closing the circuit. And we all know that while you're supposed to bag at 10 times a minute, everybody and their mother bags at 37 times a minute and squeezes the bag as hard as they can, because if you've ever been in a cardiac arrest, it's a quite stressful event. Everybody's hyped up. You need to get everybody to calm down, not amp her harder. So someone gets tubed as the first move for VFib, VTAC, which, remember, the first move should be what? Shock. Because that's the thing that's going to get them out of the rhythm. Increasing this right atrial pressure will decrease your coronary perfusion pressure, limiting your ability to obtain ROSC, resulting in those worse outcomes. So if your cardiac arrest is secondary to a respiratory issue, then you can make an excuse that intubation would be a good thing, not a bad thing. But remember that mainly ROSC is predominantly determined by your coronary perfusion pressure. You want to do things to increase your end atrial diastolic, not atrial, end aortic diastolic pressure. You want to do things to lower your right atrial pressure. Remember, there's not much you can do to lower right atrial pressure except try not to bag too hard. If they're already on a vent, bag slow, bag easy. If they already have an ET tube, that is. And if you don't need an ET tube, don't put one in, and still bag slow, bag easy. And give medicines to increase this. This is where epi comes in. So epi does increase your end aortic diastolic pressure, but so would things like Levophed, so would things like Vaso, so would things like phenylephrine. And remember, this is how epi works in a cardiac arrest. It actually raises this aortic pressure, which increases your coronary perfusion pressure. Epi doesn't make the heart squeeze harder, which makes you get ROSC. Epi works essentially through its alpha properties, increasing your aortic end diastolic pressure. So, all right, that's all we got for this one.